People Shiny Piece here, and welcome back to Moronic Kid Rants About Pointless Things. Since I had fun reviewing Indigo League, I wanted to talk about another season of the Pokemon anime. However, there really isn't anything that I can say about Johto Journeys. Aside from giving me my love for the Chikorita line, there's nothing positive or negative I can really say about it. It's just a decent kids show. No, I'm not counting Orange Islands, as it's an anime-only continuation of Generation 1 and not a direct adaptation of any of the games. It's just a filler season that's not worth my time. The season for Generation 3, Advanced on the other hand, I definitely have a lot to say about. Fun fact, there's a scene from this season in particular that's my first memory of anything, which I'll talk about during spoiler territory, but aside from that and a few other episodes here and there, I don't remember watching this one that much growing up. Not because I thought it was bad, Lord knows that if I had taste back then, I wouldn't have watched these shows at all. It was because I didn't have that many episodes on DVD at the time, and since I didn't know how to use the internet back then, that was the only way I could watch anything. Even so, I was more of an Indigo League and Diamond and Pearl type of kid. I've said before that the Generation 5 games are my favorite of the Pokemon series, but Gen 3 would be my second favorite, and Gen 1 would be my third if you're wondering. Whether it's Emerald or the Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire remakes, after I'm done with Gen 3, I always get the urge to play it all over again. From the amazing music, to the interesting story that they tell, to the amazing designs, it's just a great experience that manages to hook me. Considering how weak the last two seasons of the Pokemon anime were as adaptations, I wasn't expecting Advanced to be completely faithful to the games, but could still work as a standalone kids show with some entertainingly corny moments. I was very wrong. This next statement is going to sound like a bit of an overreaction, but out of the thousands of shows I've seen over the years, Pokemon Advanced is the one I hate the most. Congratulations, Deadman Wonderland, we finally found your replacement. Now, Advanced is not the worst show ever, far from it. I've seen shows like Boku no Pico and Where the Dead Go to Die. There are certainly worse things out there, but none of them ever made me as mad as Advanced did. I will admit, a lot of my anger watching the show came from having to see the majority of it in the English dub. It's difficult to find the Japanese versions for the first two seasons, but it's even harder to find the one for Advanced. So I could only painlessly watch the first 10 episodes before having to switch to the 4Kids dub. Let's be fair for a moment. When it comes to Pokemon, while 4Kids does change the names and give the characters unholy, ear-murdering, death-provoking voices, the episode plots and overarching story are essentially still the same, with a few minor dialogue differences, which is good because even if you take away the awful voice acting, you're still left with an absolutely terrible adaptation of the games. Anyway, let's not waste any more time and finally start talking about my new most hated show. While the Gen 3 games are more plot-centered than the previous two gens, they still have the basic idea. Dumb Kid travels through his or her region to build a strong team of Pokemon while collecting 8 gym badges to be eligible to compete against the Elite Four and become the Pokemon League champion. The first two seasons of the anime took this idea and added a problem of the week format, where every episode had its own plot, save for multi-parters, and having a lot of filler in between gym badges, which carries over to Advanced. Right off the bat, we have our first problem. Even though it got annoying after a while, Indigo League and Johto Journeys had an excuse for having a lot of filler in between gym badges. The Generation 1 and 2 games didn't have much of a story. It was a simple, go to point A to get to point B, and occasionally fight Team Rocket along the way. It was with Generation 3 where the franchise started to have full-blown stories that last throughout the games. Granted, Ruby and Sapphire aren't as story-heavy as the series would later get with games like Black and White and Sun and Moon, so I could forgive the show if it had only a few filler episodes every now and then. Not have so much filler to where it takes 15 episodes to get to the first fucking gym leader. The game's story is only sprinkled in every couple of episodes to the point where it feels more like a side plot. What doesn't help the show is its aggravating protagonists that we're forced to follow.
かりしろ、ピカチュウ。港に着いたらすぐにポケモンセンターに連れてってやるからな。
Hey, Brendan, are you feeling okay? You're not looking like yourself. At all. You almost look like Ash Ketchum from the last 2 seasons. Okay, why is Ash the main character again? He's been the MC twice already. Wait, don't tell me. Is he going to be our fill-in for every Pokemon protagonist? Oh, damn it. I didn't mention it in my Indigo League review, but Ash is our fill-in for every single protagonist from the games, which is honestly really disappointing. Now, I liked Ash in Indigo League. He was a decent villain for Red, and he had a nice dynamic with the supporting cast. But there's only so much they can do with him before they have to replace him. He doesn't need to repeat the development he got in the last 2 seasons. There's nothing else you can do with him that we haven't seen already, which this season goes out of its way to prove, as Ash gets no development as a person or as a trainer. But I hope you can learn to tolerate him being here, because in Advanced he's more or less our straight man. You heard me right. Ash used to be the idiotic MC that was made likable by the fact that he had good intentions, and that he, more often than not, would be called out for his bullshit. This time around, his companions are all idiots, leaving Ash as the only one with any common sense. Here's pretty much every exchange between our protagonists. A dilemma comes up that keeps them from progressing with the story, whether it be they can't leave their location, or the gym leader can't be bothered at the moment. Ash wants to make progress, but everyone else wants to take things slow and do something else, which makes me sympathize with Ash because I want to make progress. While Misty isn't in this season, Brock is, and he's pure annoying, predictable comic relief.
Hi, I'm Brock and you're beautiful. The elegance of this flower shop is surpassed only by your exquisite elegance.
Does anybody remember back in the first half of Indigo League where Brock had a personality outside of being a hormonal teenager, was shy about his crushes, which is why he never got into a relationship, making him kinda relatable to the older audience, and it was nice having him around to be the voice of reason for whenever Ash and or Misty were doing something stupid? Yeah, I miss those days. Misty's, I guess you could call it replacement, for this season is May, the female player in the games. From now on, I'm playing as Brendan. If you pick the girl character, May would be the protagonist out to collect 8 gym badges to challenge the Pokemon League, and would even be the daughter of one of the gym leaders, Norman. If you pick the boy character, May would be the player's friendly rival and would be Professor Birch's daughter. You know, the loser who only gives you a Pokemon because he's an incompetent klutz. Since we already have Ash for the gym badge episodes, May instead battles in Pokemon contests. Remember those? No, of course you don't, because those were stupid, and no one bothered with them. One of the gimmicks of the Gen 3 games was something called Pokemon Contests. To put it simply, you would give your Pokemon Pokeblocks to boost their stats in beauty, coolness, cuteness, smartness, and or toughness. Then you would show off your moves to the judges to get appeal points. Or something like that. I don't know, I barely paid any mind to the contests. But apparently they were popular enough to come back in Gen 4. Now, I didn't hate this gimmick. It was a fine collection of mini-games, and I could see the appeal. Since in Ruby and Sapphire there were contest halls in every other place the player would visit, it was inevitable that the anime would exploit them like they were something major, even though they were an optional pastime. While I'm not exactly a fan of them, I don't mind the fact that they have a character to compete in contests. What I do mind is that the character they chose for it is Norman's daughter. I'll talk about why I think that was a poor decision when I start talking about the gym leaders. May herself, outside of the contest episodes, is bland at best. If you want to listen to someone take any opportunity to complain about how much their feet hurt, then you'll absolutely adore her. There was a student-mentor dynamic between her and Ash for a while, but they abandoned that almost immediately after they started it, then the two proceeded to have very little chemistry between each other. Now, it's not May that makes the cast unbearable. It's this little shit.
ずるして進化しなきゃいいんでしょ This Pokénavi's out of range! Don't blame me! Do you have any inventions in this place that actually work? Should've learned that in Pokemon Battling 101.
This abomination on my patience is Max, a character they made up for the anime to be May's younger brother. Considering they made him up for this adaptation, Max must be really important throughout the show, right? He does absolutely nothing of substance. Max is meant to be the boy genius trope, the kid who's way too smart for his age and could outsmart any adult. Well, his geniusness is arrogantly criticizing Ash for the smallest of things, then doing something beyond stupid himself.
そんなこんなにいっぱいジグザグマがいたなんて
The expired cherry on top is the snobbish way he tries to make a point, acting like he's smarter than everyone else when in reality he's the most inept and useless character in the entire show. The only time Ash or anyone else ever calls him out for being annoying is when he debuts, and never again, which leaves him free to continuously annoy the audience. Also, might I add how ingenious it was for the dub to name him Max, because it's not like we have another character from the games in this season who has basically the same name.
My name is Maxie. I'm the leader of Team Magma.
Oh, all except for one of our villains, but fuck it, he's not important. Speaking of which, let's talk about best boys. Okay, they're not best boys yet, they won't be for another 10 years, but they're the closest things that I have to favorite characters in this sorry excuse for an adaptation, so let's talk about them anyway. It was at Gen 3 where Pokemon started to get kinda formulaic in terms of design. We gotta have our Pikachus, we gotta have our Pidgeots, we gotta have our Butterfrees, we gotta have our Meowths, etc. I mean, how stupid was it to start getting formulaic when Gen 2 gave us such great original Pokemon like Sneasel and Dunsparce and Ariados and Ledian and Misdreavus and Quillfish and Yanma and Delibird. Okay, maybe it's for the best that they got just a tad formulaic. But most importantly, we gotta have our villainous teams. In Gen 1 and 2, we only had Team Rocket, who were just lowly thieves that wanted to make a quick buck. Starting with Team Aqua and Team Magma, our villains are now trying to summon legendary Pokemon to fulfill their ordeals, which could lead to the destruction of Earth. The evil teams in Gen 3 are the main differences between the different versions. In Sapphire version, you have to fight Team Aqua as they attempt to awaken Kyogre to expand the sea. In Ruby version, you have to fight Team Magma as they attempt to awaken Groudon to expand the land. Then Emerald version combines these stories and has you fight both evil teams. In other words, just get Emerald version, it has the best of both worlds. Advance started airing a few years before Emerald's release, but it attempts to do what Emerald would go on to accomplish by combining the Ruby and Sapphire storylines, meaning it has both Aqua and Magma as the villains. What makes our new villains this gen stand out from Team Rocket are the ordeals and misguided plans of their leaders. Maxie, the real Max, is the leader of Team Magma, and my favorite character Archie is the leader of Team Aqua. Even though our villains this time around cause trouble in their region, they have good intentions. One side believes that the Earth depends on the sea, while the other believes that it depends more on the land. In their eyes, they're awakening legendary Pokemon to create a better world, and have to go to any means necessary in order to do so. But as the story progresses and they realize that they're starting to go too far, they begin to show regret over their actions. Then when they see what their misdeeds have led to and the legendary Pokemon begin to create destruction instead of peace like they had planned, they realize that they are truly wrong. All of their efforts and regretted crimes were for nothing. After it's up to the Mute Kid to fix their fuck-ups, the last we see of them in the games are when they're silently leaving, off to find the true way to better the world as well as better themselves. Since our villains are interesting with a lot of depth as well as incredibly intriguing leaders, the anime adaptation has plenty of opportunities to flesh them out even more and do something amazing with them. Or we could take away all of their depth by not having them want to better the Hoenn region, but to just straight up rule the world. We could also only have them show up in between a million episodes of filler to where it wouldn't be surprising if you forgot they were even in the show. We could also cram the climax into a shitty two-parter, have Archie and Maxie debut in said two-parter, and then never have them show up ever again. Do you guys understand why I hate this show now? Just about every opportunity in the story where they could give the evil teams or any other characters time to shine, they either just throw it away, do it in a way that's entirely unfaithful to the games, or give the spotlight to some throwaway character. The Slateport Museum where we're supposed to meet Maxie? Screw that! What about this kid and his stupid spiel that we'll never see again? Granite Cave where we're supposed to meet Steven? Who cares about that? Tabitha and Shelly are busy not doing anything and just talking to each other. Also, they're not Tabitha and Shelly anymore. They're now Harlan and Isabel.
Field Commander Harlan, I would judge by your presence here that Team Magma is more than just a little curious about these ruins.
Well, Tactical Commander Isabel, I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Also, the red orb and the blue orb aren't the red orb and the blue orb anymore. They're now the rose orb and the indigo orb.
Okay, are you trying to tell me you've brought the rose orb?
The indigo orb?
Four Kids apparently only found out afterwards that they fucked up on the names because from then on, Tabitha, Shelly, and the orbs are referred to by their actual names that they had in the North American releases of the games. Was this a dub flop? Probably. Even so, forgetting details about the evil teams, then quickly fixing them in later episodes is kind of a recurring thing throughout. Team Magma are introduced with intimidating Houndooms. Oh wait, no, they use Mighty Hyenas, never mind. Team Aqua are introduced with scary Crawdonts. Oh wait, no, they use Carvanas, scrap that. Yet they only use Carvanas one time, and continue to use Crawdonts and Walreins, Pokemon they didn't have. Getting back on the subject of Steven, I hope you're not a fan of him, because the Hoenn League champion and one of the most important characters in the games isn't here at all. Considering he had a pretty important role later on in the story, Advance had to bring in another character from the previous seasons just to fill in that role. Don't worry, I'll rage at that when I get there. I hope you're also not a fan of Wally, because he's not here either. But we do have Max.
You really don't know your Pokemon very well, do you, Marius?
Yay! Well, I guess it would be stupid for the adaptation of Ruby and Sapphire to adapt the stories of Ruby and Sapphire when it's so busy giving us Team Rocket antics. Yeah, Team Rocket are still in business and still chasing after Pikachu, because after getting his gym destroyed and cover blown by a child, Giovanni apparently thought it would be a great idea to not disband the group. Team Rocket are once again the comic relief villains who come up with ridiculously stupid plans to capture Pikachu that never succeed. While I found them funny in Indigo League, in Advance they're repetitive at best. Here's pretty much every scene with them. First they complain about being broke, then they tie themselves in with the problem of the episode, hoping to get on Giovanni's good side. They build a large robot to make said problem worse, then Pikachu thunderbolts them away. How is it they're supposedly broke, yet can still afford all of these machines that can be built within the span of a few seconds? This was also a thing in Johto Journeys, and it confused me even as a kid. But I guess we do need giant robots to make the show interesting. I mean, what are we coming here to watch? The Pokemon? The show also apparently realized that Team Rocket were pointless this season, as sometimes they play no point in the episode and are only there for a cheap, quick joke, then leave before anyone notices they were even there. Guys, I'm already 15 minutes into this script, and I'm not even halfway done talking about the shit that I want to talk about. Shoot me, please. Instead of the interesting story to its source material, Advanced focuses more on its filler, gym badges, and pointless contests. In the last season that I reviewed, Ash would get most of his gym badges by not actually beating the gym leaders, but by doing things that made them believe he, quote-unquote, deserved the badge, like making one of them laugh, fixing up a mess that he started, and abusing the sprinkler system. This time around, our MC uses actual strategies during gym battles, winning the badges through hard work and skill. Now, that may sound like something positive that I can say about the show, but it's not, because there's nothing positive that I can say about this show. The way Advanced uses strategies for the gym battles involves using certain types of moves to counter others, and finding the right moves to use at the right time. Now, that could be cool if anyone involved knew how Pokemon works. Or worked, I should say. In the show, whenever a Pokemon needs to defend itself, it'll use moves that only boost their physical defense stat, like Iron Defense or Harden, even against fire and grass-type moves, which are special. Prior to Gen 4, all moves dealt damage depending on their type. All fire, grass, and water moves dealt special damage, all normal, poison, and bug moves dealt physical damage, etc., and etc. For some reason, dark moves were special and ghost moves were physical, meaning the move Crunch dealt special damage, while Shadow Ball dealt physical. It's stupid, I know, but I don't design the games, I just play them. So, tell me, how does raising your physical defense help you against special attacking moves? Short answer, it doesn't. The show often completely forgets about which types of moves are weak or strong against others and how certain moves actually work. Pikachu one time is able to knock out a water type with Iron Tail even though water resists steel. Another time, one of Ash's Mons takes a direct hit from Horn Drill and is still able to fight despite Horn Drill being a one-hit KO move. Some Pokemon use Hyper Beam several times in a row, despite Hyper Beam being a move that makes the user have to recharge for a turn. The newest of Pokemon fans could tell you what's wrong with this picture. The only gym leader worth going into full detail about is Norman. Well, now is a good time for me to explain why I think it was a mistake to have Ash be the one to collect gym badges and not May. What made Norman an interesting character was that he's the player's parent. He was an obstacle for the player in more ways than just being a gym leader. Brendan or May had to prove that they were better trainers than their own father. After their gym battle, it feels like Brendan or May accomplished something more than a gym badge, a parent's admiration, and a bond that's now stronger than before. When you have Ash fight Norman instead of May, that satisfying moment of victory is gone. Norman may as well just be another gym leader in this case. Don't worry though, instead of getting interesting character development when Ash fights Norman, we get more of Max being a little shit.
Why'd you have to lose, huh? That doesn't mean it's okay to lose!
Please tell me he's the one who dies first. I really love how he has a bigger reaction to seeing his dad lose, which he probably does most of the time being a gym leader, than he did when May lost her first contest. Most of the filler episodes in Advanced, similar to the ones in Indigo League, are centered around almost all of the region's Pokemon and their different capabilities. As much as I harp on this show, one positive thing that I can say about it is that, unlike in Season 1, our MC doesn't have all three of the main starters. Instead, the show separates them amongst our protagonists. Ash gets a Trico, May gets a Torchic, and Brock gets a Mudkip. You know, for the Rock-type specialist, Brock sure does have a lot of Water types this season. Wouldn't it make more sense to give him an Aeron or a Nose Pass? Most of the time when we have a filler episode involving different Pokemon, it involves their annoying throwaway trainers and their problems that make up the episode's events. Needless to say, this formulaic format for the filler ends up getting quite repetitive after a while. The main question is, how will this show pull off its climax when it has everything working against it? Will it manage to surprise me and turn out to be good? Will I ever make a video above mediocre quality? Our Archie and Maxie don't appear until episode 97 in the two-parter Gaining Groudon and Scuffle of Legends. Since they haven't been in the show at all until this point, nor has it been established that Team Aqua and Magma even have leaders, the obvious decision would be to just dump them on the audience and act like they've always been there. In the games, the villains' motives for awakening the legendaries were built up every time the player had to fight them, so when it came time for the climax, it was easy to follow and you could feel the weight of the moment. Here, Aqua and Magma have been extremely vague about their plans whenever they rarely show up, making the climax come right the hell out of nowhere. The moment we see the team's leaders, we find out that they already have the blue orb and the red orb, the objects believed to have control over the legendary beasts. We don't get to see them actually take the orbs from Mount Pyre, or see how they're beginning to doubt themselves when awakening the legendaries, because we can't waste time showing interesting scenes and character development when we have to focus on our stupid protagonist shenanigans.
Yet what they do not know is we already have the Kyogre they seek in our possession. And then we found out some disturbing news. We discovered Team Aqua has a Groudon.
So, let me get this straight. You guys managed to get your hands on the blue orb that you believe is able to control Groudon, but instead of going to awaken the Pokemon that you hope will fulfill your ordeals, you decide to capture Kyogre just to go nah 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 to Team Aqua? How are you even able to awaken Kyogre when you don't have the red orb? You know, the thing that can awaken it? It would be nice if we got an episode, hell, maybe a scene at all explaining where and how they got the damn things. But nah, let's just pretend that we've been building up to these episodes this entire time instead of wasting money on filler. Wait, there is a reason for it. They didn't establish what the orbs do in the anime. They only had one scene briefly discussing them, so they can do whatever they want with the orbs without any regard for their source material.
Convey our will to Kyogre, Great Red Orb, and allow this great power to be released now! Kyogre, it is time!
So, in Advanced, the red and blue orbs can actually control Kyogre and Groudon, which is BS. It was confirmed that the orbs could awaken the legendaries, but they couldn't control them like the teams thought, which left Groudon or Kyogre free to nearly destroy Hoenn, the leaders unable to do anything about their mess, while the player had to be the hero and save the day. That's not even the biggest piece of bullshit. That title goes to the fact that the orbs can possess people. Yeah, the orbs can now control anyone who's been into contact with them to do the bidding of the two legendaries, because anime.
Here's the deal. Team Magma will be dissolved today, while Team Aqua emerges as ruler of the world.
Congratulations! You fucked up Archie's character with just one sentence. I am so proud of you, show! Well, I guess since you waited this long to introduce him, you couldn't go with the fleshed out story arc that he had in the games, so it'd be better to take the easy way out and just make him a big poo-poo face. When Archie gets his hands on the red orb, he starts going off on a murderous rage, actually attempting to drown everything, including his own henchmen. I should be more pissed that they turned my favorite character into a typical meanie pants, but he technically gets better treatment than Maxie, who completely blends into the background during these episodes. Also, Lance is here now, apparently undercover to do research on the evil teams. Why the Kanto champion would have interest in something happening in Hoenn is beyond me, but it doesn't matter because Lance is completely useless. There was no reason for him being here at all. Now, who was a champion that actually gave advice to the MC during this dangerous time? Oh, duh, Steven, but he's not here because I seriously doubt that anyone involved played the games and even knew he existed. But wait, it gets better! The blue orb ends up possessing Pikachu, then controls him to awaken Groudon so he can stop Kyogre's destruction. So, in the show, Groudon is good, Kyogre is bad. Groudon apparently had the power to control Pikachu through the blue orb in hopes to stop Kyogre, while Archie had control over Kyogre while also being controlled by the red orb. Did they write these episodes all in one fucking draft? The fact that Groudon is our savior here also shoots this episode in the foot, because while they warped Archie's character around, they attempted to keep Maxie's story arc with this line.
We need those ancient Pokemon. They're necessary for us to build a better world for everyone.
But that doesn't work when Groudon actually does come to save the day. Actually, when you think about it, in this show, Team Magma was actually completely in the right and didn't have to learn anything. In a way, they were screwed over even more than Team Aqua. Fuck my life, why do I even bother? On the bright side, I've rediscovered the screenshot that's my first memory. That gave me nightmares. I kinda wish my first memory came from a better show, but what can I do? Guys, these episodes were so busy tossing non-stop what the fuck at me that I couldn't get through them in the first sitting. I actually needed to take a break. What was I rewarded with when I came back? Surprisingly, the most anticlimactic ending ever. While Kyogre's causing storms, all it takes is one Hyper Beam from Groudon, then everything's cool. They're suddenly best buddies, and they're free to roam the earth without any worry. Why not? We can't have Ash defeat the legendaries like Brendan did. That would make him look somewhat competent. And considering the fact that, big shock, he loses the Hoenn League, I guess that would be out of his character. Then because anime, the orbs suddenly turn to dust. Lance says that it's because Groudon and Kyogre had plans to destroy the orbs, but how would they know how to do that? How would they even destroy the orbs? All that happened was that Groudon landed a single Hyper Beam. How does that end up destroying both orbs?
Our heroes are left with a renewed understanding of the need for mankind to coexist peaceably with nature.
Yeah, our protagonists aren't the ones who needed to learn that lesson. They already knew that, which is why they were trying to stop the legendaries in the first place. The people who did need to learn that were Aqua and Magma, who, by the way, are never in the show ever again. Yep, they get Archie away from the Red Orb, then they're just gone. We don't even see them being regretful or leaving to hope to better themselves like we do in the games. They're just gone. These episodes take no break in giving out migraines, then throw out an anticlimactic ending just to say, yeah, we don't want to be here either, let's just end quickly and let everyone go. Do you guys understand why I hate this show yet? After that series of nonsense, Ash has to get 2 more gym badges, then fight in the Hoenn League. Emerald came out while Advanced was airing, so for the final act they decided to go with the changes that version brought to the Gen 3 games, like having Juan be the 8th gym leader instead of Wallace. Wallace doesn't appear until the Sinnoh adaptation, by the way. Why they bothered to include that change and not the climax between the legendaries that was in Emerald version is beyond me, but if I just deal with it, my torment will be over faster. The final outcome is what you'd expect. Ash fights people who aren't the Elite Four, loses, then has to go back home and get ready to travel through the next region that comes out. In other words, all of the bullcrap that I've had to sit through up until now was entirely pointless. The bullcrap that will more than likely happen in future seasons will be entirely pointless, because Ash has to fight every single league and continue on to the next region. Wait, it's not over yet! The show decided that since Emerald was still somewhat relevant, they should include the post-game event of the Battle Frontier, meaning that Ash has to fight several more trainers before the show can end. Nope. Nope. Nuh-uh. Nope. I don't care what happens next, I'm not watching it. I've seen enough of this show, and I think I deserve a break after that. Overall, Pokemon Advanced is a huge mess. Every opportunity it gets to adapt the story to its source material, it does it in a way that makes you wonder if anyone involved even played the stupid games. When it's not shitting over the Ruby and Sapphire storylines, it's pumping out filler after filler of things nobody cares about that go on for a fucking eternity. But Let's look at Advanced as a standalone show. It takes forever to get to its actual story, the protagonists are unbearably annoying, the animation is stilted at best, and the payoff is beyond underwhelming. As an avid fan of the source material, I have no hesitation in saying that out of the thousands of shows I've ever seen, Pokemon Advanced is the one that I hate the most. If you're at all a fan of the Generation 3 games, or if you're just an average viewer, then stay as far away from it as you can. With that, I'm out.
I take a look at my enormous penis, and my troubles start melting away. I take a look at my enormous penis, and the happy times are coming to stay. I gotta sing and I dance when